Hi, I'm Gretchen and I'm making this video to show you the basics of creating lace holes and ladders in your machine knitting. So I have a sample worked up here. You can see here are some ladders where the needle goes out of working position and it creates this kind of like float, which can add an airy look to whatever you're creating. Here's a double lace hole. In hand knitting parlance, we would probably call it a double yarn over, where you get that twice as big hole. And then you can see I have a few single lace holes as well dotted across my little sampler here. So in order to create these things, all you need is your transfer tool. And then if you have one of these transfer tools that has the 7 prongs that are adjustable, that can be really handy if you're making parallel ones or you have a bunch that you need to create all at once. So let's start by just making single lace holes. All you need is your transfer tool, and then you just need to take whichever needle you want that lace hole on, pull it out past the latch so that the stitch comes off, push it back so that you transfer it onto your transfer tool, and then you can move it in either direction. I find that it's less finicky than hand knitting as far as which direction to move it and how it looks on the right side of your work, but you should be probably consistent just for consistency's sake, although I'm moving them both directions to show you it's possible. So just go ahead and transfer them all. The only thing you want to be careful about is that since you are creating a lace hole, you do want it to close your next carriage pass. So you want to make sure that all of these needles that you've pushed back when you move the stitches are still in working position so that they knit. And then you can just go ahead and run your carriage across. And as you can see, I just created single lace holes. So you can also make double lace holes. Those are a little bit more complicated simply because you need to move stitches from 2 needles. So I'm going to move the one on the left to the left. I'll move the stitch on the right to the right. And then you also have to deal with these a little bit differently in subsequent rows. So I'll make 2 of them. Here's another. Move this one to the left, this one to the right. And then while we're here, I will also go ahead and create some ladders. Oh, actually, I also need to show you with these double lace holes, you need to have 1 needle in working position from the 2 that you've transferred stitches from, and 1 in non-working position for that first row. Okay, so I have 1 needle that's not working, 1 needle that is. And then I'll also create some ladders. Ladders are basically just like drop stitches where you create a lace hole and then you do not knit that needle anymore. So in order to create a lace hole, you need to transfer the stitch and then move the needle out of position. You can also, of course, use this tool for this kind of stuff. And the biggest thing you want to be aware of if you have this guy is that anytime, of course, you're working with multiple stitches at once, you want to make sure that you actually catch all your stitches onto your tool, because it's frustrating when you drop one. So I'm going to go ahead and move all 4 of these stitches over. And I've created parallel ladders. Again, I'm going to push these all out. And of course, you can also create double ladders, and bigger than that, but it gets a bit more complicated, where you simply move 2 stitches over and have a wider ladder. There we go. And again, you can create bigger ladders, but then closing them up again becomes more complicated as well as creating them. So for the basics, we'll just stay here. Okay, so here I have 2 double lace holes and 1 double ladder and a bunch of single ladders. In order to complete these double lace holes, what I need to do is move my carriage across 1 time. And now, as you can see, it's worked 1 needle and left the other needle out of position here. I'm going to go ahead and take those out of position needles for my 2 double lace holes and just put them right back in position. Of course, I'm going to leave all the ones for my ladders because I want those out of working position. Move my carriage across again. And now, you know, in hand knitting, when you have a double yarn over, you have to be a little bit careful with it as well. You typically work that knit 1, purl 1 into a double, which is kind of the same principle as to why you have to do funny stuff on the machine. But you can see here that I have this was the needle that was out of working position, and by knitting 1 row without it in position, I got basically a ladder here. I just need to lift that ladder onto that needle so that needle holds the stitch I just knit across, plus the ladder from the first time I passed the carriage, and do that with both of your, I'm doing that with both of my double lace holes here to give it a cleaner look at the top. And then I'll just go ahead and knit a few more rows. So now you can see that those double lace holes have a nice finished appearance at the top. And then finally, all we need to do is close our ladders. So for the single ladders, I can just move those needles back into position. It basically creates the appearance of a lace hole at the top of the ladder. With the double ladder, I have to do essentially the same thing I did on the double lace hole. I will move one needle into position. I will knit across. I will move the second needle into position, knit across again, and then I will lift that goofy ladder piece up so that it creates a finished appearance at the top of that double ladder. And you can see that all of these ladders now have that complete finished appearance. And that is the basics of lace holes and ladders and machine knitting.